world is a stage and we are merely actor and actresses playing our role. Greetings from me to everyone, to all my dear children. So today we are going to learn a new poem written by Phoebe Carey. Phoebe Carey was an American poetess and the younger sister of poetess Alice Carey. The sisters co-published poems in 1849 and then each went on to publish volumes of their own. After their deaths in 1871, joint anthologies of the sisters' unpublished poems were also compiled. She was born on 4th September 1824, Mount Healthy, Ohio, United States. Died on 31st July 1871, Newport, Rhode Island, United States. Genre, prose. Siblings, Alice Carey. So this was all about the poetess Phoebe Carey. Moving on to our next slide, let's see what is there. So you can just see over here the prose in Northlands, reindeer, isn't it? It works and it is used as a carriage in snowy areas. Forest filled with snow. So do you know what Americans, when one asked, describe the Northland as? So if Americans are asked to describe the Northlands, cold would probably be the most commonly used adjective. Fine. So we are going to study a legend of the Northland. But then again, proper place has not been mentioned by the poetess in this poem here. Now here we are going to study, and before we start our poem, we must know few things. That is a ballad. What is a ballad? And I'll give you an example of ballad. What is a legend? Because these terms are associated with the poem that we are going to study the next. So let's begin with it. What is a ballad? A ballad is a poem that tells a story. That is, it is a long narrative poem written in form of story. And here in this poem, you will find that a stanza consists of 4 lines, which is called quatrain. The ballad form is enormously diverse, and poems in this form may have one of hundreds of different rhyme schemes and meters. Fine. So nearly every culture on earth produces ballads, often in the form of epic poems relating to the culture's mythology. However, the word ballad typically refers to the relatively short lyrical poems produced by European poets starting around the 13th century. So you just need to know is what is a ballad. A legend to Northland that we are going to study is a ballad, that is, it is a long narrative poem that gives you a message, and you can learn that poem in a form of story as well. Let's see one more example. Samuel Taylor Coleridge, if you have heard his name, is a very famous and prominent poet. S.T. Coleridge, who has written Rime of Ancient Mariner. This poem is very strictly structured in terms of meter and rhyme and tells a story of an old sailor who stops people on their way into a party. The sailor describes a sea voyage here, sea journey he once took, in which the ship was lost and everyone on board perished. So this is one of the finest example of a ballad that S.T. Coleridge has written. Now what is a legend? As the poem is entitled as A Legend of Northland. So a legend is a popular story from the past which is believed by many, but one cannot prove whether it is true or not, and it usually contains a message or a moral and is narrated to children. So this poem is called a legend because it preaches generosity, humbleness towards fellow being. Okay, as you'll find that a woman who bakes a cake, and when a Saint Peter arrives to his cottage and pleads for a cake, she just, cannot part even from a single cake. She becomes selfish. So again, this poem tells us about the human values and virtues that one must possess, isn't it? But at times we become selfish and we forget that this life is given to us by Almighty and it is very precious. So if we have something to give, if we can, part from something and help someone in need, then we must. Let's move on to the next slide. A Legend of the Northland by V.B. Carey. As we have just studied that legend means a story, isn't it? Mythology that is passed from one generation to another, that may be true and may not be true, but then again it gives us message. So likewise we are going to study this poem in form of story that will definitely give you a message. A message is hidden in the story. So let's begin. As you can see, the first stanza consists of 4 lines, means quatrains. So let's begin with the poem, and you can see that the poetess has described the Northland over here, and just now we have studied that it's a frozen area. So away in the Northland, she talks about Northland somewhere, but not the specific place has been mentioned in this poem. Where the hours of the day are few, the days are very short. It happens here also in winter season, and the nights are comparatively longer than winter. People become restless as they cannot sleep the entire night and often wake up. Fine, so that's what it means over here. So she says, let's study it like a story. Once again, I will say, away, somewhere in the Northland, the place is not mentioned over here, where the hours of the day are few. So we are talking about the winter season when the days are very short and the nights are comparatively longer than winter. And people, cannot spend their nights sleeping, whole night sleeping, and often they wake up, they become restless, where they harness the swift reindeer to the sledges when it snows, and they use swift reindeer as vehicle. Sledges means vehicle. Vehicles used in the cold areas. Okay, so vehicle made of, harness means made of. Okay, made of what? Vehicle made of swift reindeer. Okay, swift reindeers are used there to carry, carry passengers. Fine. So these sledges are made of, this carriage, you can say this vehicle is made of with swift reindeer when it snows. So basically these reindeers, these vehicles, which are formed with help of the swift reindeer animal, are usually found in snowy areas, and the children look like bear's cub. Now here she describes the children in cold region, look like bear's cub. So she compares children as they wear the woolen cloth, so they look like what? They look like bear's cubs. So cubs are the young ones of bear. In their funny fairy clothes. Fairy clothes means the woolen clothes, isn't it? Woolen clothes. Fine, my dear children. So where they harness the swift reindeer, where they use the swift reindeer as vehicles to carry the passengers in the snowy areas, and the children look like bears, cubs in their funny fairy clothes. We are going to study one such story of this place, that is Northland. Understood? That is Northland. They tell them a curious story, and people there tell these children, them here refers to the children, tell them a curious story. I don't believe it is true, and the poetess says that she does not believe that the story is true or not, but yet she is going to tell us that story since it hides a lesson in it, since it consists of a lesson in it, if I tell the tale to you. So she starts narrating the story, and she says that once when the good Saint Peter, she talks about a good Saint Peter who lived in the world below. So it was a time when the saint lived in the world below and moved across the world preaching, teaching people just as he did, So So here she begins with the story about a good Saint Peter who roamed around the world preaching people. Next, she says, he came to the door of a cottage in traveling round the earth. So once he came to the door of a cottage where the lady was making cakes on the hearth. What is this hearth? Hearth is the fireplace. As you can see, it is used for baking cakes, cookies, etc. So he came to the door of a cottage while he was traveling round the earth, where he saw that a little woman was making cakes and baking those cakes on the hearth. And being faint with fasting, for the day was almost done, he asked her from a store of cakes to give him a single one. So as he was on fast, he fasted for a day and he was about to faint. So he just requested that lady, he pleaded that lady to give him a single cake so that he can sustain his life. Fine. And being faint with fasting, for the day was almost done, day was about to end now, he asked her, for the whole day he was on fast, he was hungry, so he asked that lady to provide him with a single cake so that he could sustain his life, so that he could have something to eat in order to sustain his life as he was on fast for the entire day. So she made a very little cake, but as it baking lay, she looked at it and thought it seemed too large to give away. Now, the lady, when great Saint Peter asked her to give that single cake, the lady looked at the cakes that she had baked lying down over there. She looked at it and thought it seemed too large to give away. So you can see what kind of lady she was. She was very greedy, isn't it? Don't you think that she was greedy? Yes, she was very greedy, and she did not want to part away from even a single cake. She did not want to give that single cake to Saint Peter, who was hungry. Therefore, she needed another. So what she did, she started kneading another cake. She started molding the dough and started kneading it, and still a smaller one. This time she took smaller piece of dough, okay, and started kneading it. But it looked, when she turned it over, as large as the first had done. But then as she kneaded the cake, it appeared even bigger to her, because the reason is because she was greedy and she did not want a single cake to be given to Saint Peter. Okay, so the cake even looked as big as the first one to her. Next, what happens? Then she took a tiny scrap. Scrap means a piece of dough, and rolled it flat, and she kept on rolling it so that it becomes flat, and baked it thin as a wafer. Wafer, if you have eaten wafer, okay, it's a kind of just thin biscuit. So she just rolled that dough just as thin as a wafer, but she couldn't part with even that. Why she couldn't even part with that? Also because she had become greedy. She was a Then good Saint Peter grew angry, for he was hungry and faint, and surely such a woman was enough to provoke a saint. And he said, you are far too selfish to dwell in. To dwell means to live in a human form as a human being, to have both food and shelter and fire to keep you warm. So you are not at all obliged to God for the things that He has given you, the saint says. And the behavior, the greediness of that lady angered Saint Peter, because he was hungry and weak, okay, and needed some food to eat. It is not easy to anger a saint, as we all know that they're very calm. But the selfish woman had been able to do so. What she did, she provoked him. She provoked Saint. Okay, he became angry. So Saint Peter put a curse on the selfish woman and said, you are far too selfish to dwell in a human form. to have both food and shelter, and fire to keep you warm. So what he cursed the selfish woman? He told that she did not deserve to have such comforts like food and shelter and fire to keep you warm, and not even fire. Okay, because these things are to be possessed by those who have human virtues, good qualities in them, those who are not selfish, my dear children. Okay, they are kind to needy, but she wasn't. She became selfish, right? And then again, he also says that she does not deserve a house to live in and good food to eat whenever she wanted. So this is how Saint Peter cursed that lady. Now next, what he says? Now you shall build as the birds do, and shall get your scanty food by boring and boring and boring all day in the hard dry wood. Now Saint Peter cursed the lady, cursed the woman, that she would have to build her own nest like birds do. She had to work very hard and must dig holes. Boring and boring means dig. She must dig holes into hard dry wood to get food to feed herself. The woman went up the chimney, then up she went through the chimney, never speaking a word. And out of the top flew a woodpecker, for she was changed to a bird. And as I told you, what happened the next? This great Saint Peter cursed the lady, as he found that the lady was very selfish. She could not even part with a single cake. She could not even give, a single cake to the needy. She did not help that saint who was very hungry, even if he pleaded that lady several times. So that angered good Saint Peter, right? And next, what he said? He cursed the lady and said, after that, when she was cursed, the woman went up the chimney of her house, being speechless. She could not speak. She was cursed that she won't be able to speak, okay, a word. And out of the top flew a woodpecker. Everything was changed. Now in place of woman, who was there? A woodpecker, okay, because the woman turned into a woodpecker. Great Saint Peter had cursed the woman, and so she turned into a woodpecker. This woodpecker could be seen flying out of the top of the chimney, for she was changed to a bird. Isn't it interesting, my dear children? Yes. Now, she had a scarlet cap. Scarlet means bright, red. Okay, she had, you can just see, bright red. So the woman had transformed into a bird. Okay, and that too woodpecker, who would just bore and bore into dry wood, that is dig and dig, and then again she had to work hard to sustain her life. She had a scarlet cap on her head, and that was left the same, but all the rest of her clothes were burned black as a coal in the flame. Now what happens next? As the woman had been wearing a red cap in human form, as a woodpecker, her head was still the same shade of red in color, as you can see over here. However, all the clothes she had been wearing seemed to have been burned. Okay, burned as black as coal in the flame. Okay, and that is what the color of woodpecker's body was, black, right? The poet says that every schoolboy living in the villages and every country schoolboy has seen her, has seen the woodpecker boring and boring into the dry wood where she lives. She still lives in the trees till this very day, till today, boring and boring for food. So the poet says that every schoolboy living in the living in the countryside, isn't it? Living in the villages, had seen this woodpecker, and she still digs into the bark of trees looking for worms and insects to feed on. So what is the moral of the story? The moral of the story is, can you please tell me? Yes, that we must not be selfish. We must be kind to all the needy people, isn't it? We must help them whenever they need us. Now we can see the poetic devices used in the poem. Let's go through it. Repetition. So according to Wikipedia, repetition is the simple repeating of a word within a short space of words, including in a poem, with no particular placement of the words to secure emphasis. Some examples of repetitions: words are repeated in these lines: away, away in the Northland, and rolled, can see the repetition of the word by boring and boring and boring. Boring and boring for food, isn't it? So the words are repeated. Poetic devices, repetition. Coming on to alliteration. Cambridge English Dictionary defines alliteration as the use, especially in poetry, of the same sound or sounds, especially consonants, at the beginning of several words that are close together. Like funny fairy, FF sound is repeated in the line, in their funny fairy clothes. Still smaller, S sound is repeated in the line, and still a smaller one, right? So next is enjambment. What is this enjambment? Enjambments are the running lines of poetry from one to the next without using any kind of punctuation to indicate a stop. Okay, some examples of enjambment in the poem are, and the nights are so long in winter, there are many, that they cannot sleep them through. So there are many other examples also, you can go through it. First, she said, my cakes that seem too small when I eat of them myself. Okay, so these were the examples of enjambment. Next is simile. So simile means the direct comparison, and basically it is identified when these words are used there. Okay, it is a direct comparison between two things. Okay, so as or like are the words that are used to indicate comparison. And the children look like bears' cubs. So you can see children are compared to bears' cubs, and like is a word that shows that there's a comparison, direct comparison between children and bears' cubs. Now, but all the rest of her clothes were burned black as a coal in the flame. So clothes are burned like coal, isn't it? As coal. So as black as coal. So again, simile. I hope you have understood the poem and go through it. If you have any doubt, any confusion, we can discuss it in our class. Thank you, children.